This podcast may contain explicit language. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. The Rock is next. Welcome to the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast, the show that uses a unique grading style to redefine what the greatest movies are. I'm Tom Duncan.
And I'm Dana Duncan.
Tonight, for our 314th episode, we discuss The Rock from 1996, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Directed by Michael Bay, written by David Weisberg, Douglas S. Cook, and Mark Rossner. Cinematography by John Schwartzman, music by Nick Glennie Smith and Hans Zimmer, editing by Richard Francis Bruce, starring Sean Connery as Captain John Patrick Mason of the SAS and MI6, Nicolas Cage as Dr. Stanley Goodspeed of the FBI, Ed Harris as Brigadier General Francis Frank X. Hummel, U.S. Marine Corps, David Morse as Major Tom Baxter of the U.S. Marine Corps, John Spencer as FBI Director James Womack, William Forsythe as Ernest Paxson, FBI, Michael Biehn as Commander Charles Anderson of the U.S. Navy, Vanessa Marcel as Carla Pestalozzi, Gregory Sporleder as Captain Fry of the U.S. Marine Corps, Tony Todd as Captain Darrow of the U.S. Marine Corps, John C. McGinley as Captain Hendricks of the U.S. Marine Corps, Bokeem Woodbine as Sergeant Crisp of the U.S. Marine Corps, Danny Nucci as Lieutenant Shepard of the U.S. Navy, and Claire Forlani as Jade Angelou. Quick background on the movie. The Rock was released on June 7th, 1996. On a budget of $75 million, the film would go on to gross roughly $335.6 million to finish as the number 4 film worldwide for 1996. Reviews at the time were generally positive, and the film was nominated for 1 Oscar, Best Sound. In 2014, Time Out listed The Rock at 74th on their list of top action films of all time. In 2019, Tom Ryman from Collider ranked The Rock as Michael Bay's best film and a perfect snapshot of the height of 90s action movies. The Rock currently holds a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 58 score on Metacritic, and a 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So, as usual, we cannot do this by ourselves, so we bring in our celebrity guest. He is a returning guest of ours, a 5-time club member, a fellow group member of CineMadison, making his 6th appearance on the show to date. It's the cinematic claims crusher from Chicagoland. Please welcome back Jesse Sertle.
No, I was gonna say keep it going. No, I'm not from the Chicagoland. Who said that? I'm from Illinois. I'm not from the Chicagoland. But yes, I'm happy to be back.
I just treat anything in like northern Illinois that isn't Rockford as basically Chicagoland.
I'm further west than Rockford, so.
Okay, fine. If you say so.
I mean, I'm closer to Iowa than I am to Chicago.
Okay. Fair
DeKalb
enough.
County.
DeKalb County. So I went there. I went to DeKalb for
Okay.
school, but I didn't. Like I said.
So you're in Boone?
No, I'm in Joe Davis County.
You're really further west.
Yeah, so like, it's in Chicago.
You're almost in Grant, or you're south of Grant County, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, like I'm closer to Platteville than I am Chicago.
Yep.
That's okay. I can say I'm from
so-
the Chicago area. I know. I can roll with it.
You didn't roll with it. That's the thing. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, this is starting off beautifully. Okay, well. You haven't been on since Almost Famous, an episode that unfortunately only 2 of us on this current program were available for. But how have you been, sir?
I've been good. Like we were saying right before this, my day job is super, super busy. Apparently the state of Wisconsin just keeps getting hit and hit and hit by storms, so I've been spending a lot of time on roofs and in my car driving to the roofs. So it's kind of nice to sit down and do something different instead of looking at roofs or driving to roofs.
Yeah, that's fair. I can appreciate that. And I don't think it's a Wisconsin-only problem. I think...
It's more wide, but, like, Wisconsin seems to have got really pummeled.
Yeah, that's
and it's just, and like I said, it's just crazy. Yeah.
Well, and we've had a lot of tornadoes in the Madison regional area lately, which I would assume that you're all across Dane County and the greater Madison area.
Yeah. Yes, lots of trees down, big hail. It was fun. It's fun and exciting. I look forward to it every day.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's dive into our film for the evening, as we already gave a quick background and such. But The Rock. This is a film that I have not been particularly looking forward to. As many people probably know already, Michael Bay is by far my least favorite director of all time. I find his movies to be lacking in any substance, and frankly, my impression of every Michael Bay movie is a 5-year-old kid that loves explosions and crashing things into other things and whatever, and that person grew up, never matured, and just exacerbated all of those things and got giant budgets to do so. So this is like a 5-year-old's wet dream of what a movie should be.
It's those morons that are sitting at the car races praying for a crash.
Because, I'll be honest, this movie makes no friggin' sense. The plotting of this is so weak. It is abysmal.
There's so much plot. It's all about explosions. That's what this movie's about. Explosions. Yeah. Unexplainable explosions. That's the best way to explain it.
Explosions, unexplainable explosions, gunplay, all this other general stuff. You know, it's... Everybody told me this movie was fun. And I'll admit, there was about a good 20 minutes that I enjoyed in the middle of this movie where I kind of suspended all thought. But everything else around it was terrible. Like, the opening 45 minutes of this movie is useless.
No, it's getting them to the island.
Okay, well, it's such a convoluted...
You have to figure out how to get them on the island first before you can start the movie.
The reasoning behind Ed Harris's character makes very little to no sense. His about face in the end of this movie makes very little sense. And it's just like, well, we've got Nicolas Cage, who's in the prime of his, like, action star period or era of his career. And we've got Sean Connery, late stage, after he's already done his Oscar movie. And then throw in Ed Harris, who's like flavor of the month recently, and Ed Harris in a situation room, or in a control room, or whatever you want to call it, right in the middle of this era, and you throw them all together, and this is what you get. So, Dad, what is your relationship to this movie?
I watched it on VHS, I think, years ago with your mother. Of course, she does not remember watching it. But she did, when I told her the plot, kind of go, I think maybe I saw it.
I guess that's an improvement from what she normally does. I had never seen this movie, to be fair. I don't know if I plan on watching it again anytime soon, if ever, but I have never seen this film. Now, I would assume our guest, like many other children of the 90s, has seen this film many, many times. Am I correct?
I would disagree.
Oh.
It has probably been a very long time, probably 15 plus years since I've even seen this movie. My relationship to the movie is I saw this on a VHS on the 20-inch screen at my parents' home right when it came out. And
like, 20-inch screen is almost the size of my laptop.
Yeah, well, it's the 90s. It was the 90s. We didn't have big screens then. But that is my relationship to this film. The only reason why I chose this is because it's got Nicolas Cage in it, and I find it to be a very interesting time period for Nicolas Cage.
I don't know if I've, other than National Treasure, I will separate that out. I don't know if there's another Nicolas Cage movie where he doesn't grossly overact and annoy the shit out of me.
My thought process on Nicolas Cage for this time is that he literally just won the Oscar for Best Actor. And then this is his next film.
3 years later?
No, it was a year prior. Maybe less than 2.
Leaving Las Vegas?
It was like 95.
Oh yeah, I guess it was. I thought Leaving Las Vegas was like 93.
Nope.
Okay.
Because then this, and like he had this weird action phase, because then it was like, what's
Con Air.
It's Con Air.
And Gone in 60 Seconds is late 90s.
No, Gone in 60 Seconds is like the late 90s. The next one after that is Face Off. So you have these three.
Yeah.
You have these 3 outrageous movies right after it. And I'm like, is he just cashing in then? Like,
Of course.
like
So he
that
can
all
buy,
feels like
so he can spend $80,000 on a dinosaur fossil and then smash it with a hammer.
yeah. Because like I looked at his prior movies and I'm like, I don't really see any ones that are these big budget action films. And then he wins an Oscar, and all of a sudden he's in all these action films with City of Angels thrown in there just randomly.
I don't know. His career has always been weird to me. I do remember a cohort of people from high school that somewhat ironically loved to watch all of his films and tried to talk him up to the rest of us. But I kept telling him, I have no interest in seeing Family Man again. Nah. And I gotta tell you, I know I'm against the grain on this one, but Moonstruck is awful partly because of him. It's just a terrible movie. All around. But also because of him. I know, I'm taking side swipes at stuff way early on, and we haven't even covered that movie yet, but...
You're going after everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Shouldn't even mention anybody else.
Well, okay. Michael Bay, terrible for me. Nicolas Cage, terrible for me. Sean Connery, yeah, okay. I mean...
Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Ed Harris.
I like Ed Harris. Ed Harris was not utilized well in this film. I can't figure out for the life of me anything of what Sean Connery's character is supposed to be or doing or whatever else. And I guess he was an executive producer, but he's still a badass in this movie, so whatever.
This is Sean Connery collecting a paycheck.
That's what I was going to say. This felt very phoned in. For
I
Sean
was
Connery
in
movie.
I was in the Bahamas not long after this for the first time, and they pointed out that Sean Connery had just bought a oceanfront property on an island just into the bay in Nassau. So my guess is that's where this money went.
Okay. I mean, the dude was eminently cool. He was James Bond, and to a degree still is, if he were living, I guess. But, okay, we'll move on for the sake of things. Well, I guess I haven't asked either of you. 1, what are your thoughts on Michael Bay as a whole?
I'll go first. I'm in the same group as you, Tom. I think he's terrible. I don't like... Growing up with him, the only movie I ever did like was Armageddon. Because that was just fun and exciting. And relatively stupid, plot-wise. But it was enjoyable to watch. But, like, anything after that... I guess I liked Pain and Gain. Because that was just relatively stupid. The whole story of what was happening. But, like, everything else, it's just... I would agree, it's just explosions. That's all it is. That's all the plot is like, random explosions... unexplainable explosions that are much larger than they should be, and then people not being hurt by the explosions.
Which happens in this movie, yes. That is
A
true.
lot. Nicolas Cage is blown into the ocean.
Yes.
Fine. Nothing's wrong with him.
Nope, not a thing.
I mean, it's supposed to, like, disintegrate everything around you, but nothing actually is destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so what, did it fail?
No, they
That's
said
the
it.
case.
Well, we missed the building.
Well, for me, okay, I've only seen one other film of his other than this one, and that's Pearl Harbor. Because which is just horrible. I mean, my God, you had so much to work with, and you turned it into some sappy love story set with bombs falling. I mean, it was like, God, it was just terrible. It was unwatchable. And I'm a historian. I thought it was at least going to have some elements of history involved. Yeah, okay, fine. You want to put a love story? No. After that, I'm like, there is nothing that I've seen in any trailer that goes, hey, that is a film I would like to see. Never saw Armageddon. Never saw Transformers. I wonder why. So, no, I mean, this guy, all of the scripts I've seen so far, and from what people have described, this is him and a couple of buddies sitting around at 4 a.m., overtired, going, well, what if we did this? It could go, like, blow up, and then he could, like, launch up in the middle of the sky. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. God.
Pearl Harbor. That's all I'm going to say. My thoughts on that movie.
Barely remember Pearl Harbor as a movie. I
You're
remember
lucky.
I swear off Michael Bay when it was not the second Transformers, which should have been revealing enough, but the third Transformers. I never saw the first one, which people thought was good, which...
Is the third one with Mark Wahlberg?
No, I think that was like the fourth or fifth one. Because there's like 8 of them.
I know my friends took me to one of them in 3D, and that was the most upsetting 3D movie I've ever watched. Like, because the explosions weren't in 3D.
Whichever one, and I think it was
you expected.
I think the third one was. This is the confluence of things. All right. To begin with, I didn't like Michael Bay and Michael Bay movies, and to be fair to him, the one that I swore him off for was one that they completed the script during the writer's strike. So it was a exasperated version of Michael Bay. It was like saying, the guy who never has a story, let's make sure that he has no writers that already are not writing a story for him, and we're going to lean into that extra hard.
Do you know how he got his start?
I think he did music videos.
No.
Videos. What?
No, he did, but his start was he was hired and did the first commercials for Gotten Milk for the California Dairy Association. And that started the whole campaign. It got picked up by the federal or the National Dairy Association after those commercials. And from there, he got hired to do the music videos. That's where he got his start.
So we're going to blame the milk and dairy industry for him.
Apparently, I don't know.
Hold on. You dropped in an anecdote. To what end?
To make us angry.
It's like he started out doing cheesy local commercials and has never gotten out of it. Everything is like a commercial.
Okay, what explosions are in these milk commercials?
That's just to make it more bankable.
Explosions of flavor. That's what's in there.
Explosions of flavor. You now sound like a Cheetos commercial. Okay, we'll move on to Nicolas Cage. I've already said my history with Nicolas Cage, but for either of you, would you like to say a few words?
Well, Leaving Las Vegas was excellent. I really thought his performance was outstanding. But then he did this, and I thought it was overacted. They did National Treasure, which were fun, but again, overacted. And it's just gotten steadily worse as time has gone by until he basically, I don't know if I think he's just now a caricature of himself.
Could be.
I mean, they're doing a movie where he's playing himself in the movie.
The unbearable weight of massive talent. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, at least he's in on the joke now.
I think he's always been on the joke.
But I think I saw yesterday that he turned down... I can't remember who the second director was. He turned somebody down in the early 2000s. And then he also turned down Christopher Nolan for Insomnia. And between both of those, he basically cost himself with two... Oh, it was Hard Eight. It was Hard Eight with Paul Thomas Anderson in the 90s. He turned that down, and then he turned down Insomnia. And he says he regrets it now because he basically ruined any relationship he could have had with either one of them.
Yeah. And they would have kept him working for decades.
Well, Nolan specifically, I suppose I should also say to Paul Thomas Anderson, but Nolan specifically has worked with a lot of the same actors, especially like supporting actors, over and over and over and over again. And Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm trying to think, other than Philip Seymour Hoffman, I can't immediately recall anybody else that he's worked with a ton. Either way. But yeah, even being in one of their films, you would have thought would have given him some additional clout and opportunity for some other A-list auteur directors. And he's just, while he's doing a little bit more auteurish stuff, like Pig from a couple of years ago that people liked, which I never saw, but I know people were fawning over it in the Criterion or cinematic or cinemaniac community, let's say. I don't know. It's kind of too late. He's already what he's going to be.
He's used John C. Reilly 3 times, Philip Baker Hall 3 times, William Macy twice, Joaquin Phoenix twice.
What was the second Joaquin Phoenix movie?
The Master and Inherent Vice.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Inherent Vice. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and Daniel Day-Lewis is obvious because that's Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood.
Yep. And then he did, Philip Baker Hall was in Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. John C. Reilly was in Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, and Punch Drunk Love. So that's 4 times.
Yeah, and Alana Haim has been in both not Mystic Pizza, Licorice Pizza, and now in the most recent one that won the Best Picture, One Battle After Another.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, Maya Rudolph's been in 3.
Well, yeah. Why not cast your very talented wife?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're a little off topic, but lastly, Sean Connery. Commentary, thoughts?
Connery tried to make a career after Bond. He struggled a bit to got typecast to some extent. He finally was able to do the things like The Untouchables and getting his Oscar there. And he kind of built a career. And then the last part of that career, when it started with him coming back and doing that that outlier Bond film, and I can never remember the name
Never
of it.
Say Never Again, which is just basically Thunderball, but slightly changed.
Which is just, the only reason he did it is because they offered him a shitload of money. And of course, he was at a point in his life, I think he had been through a divorce, so he had lost a ton of his wealth. And then he was just trying to build up the bank account so he could take it easy. And he did a bunch of schlock movies and ended it with, what's that one that he was the Seeking Forest?
No. Finding Forrester is a good movie. I
Okay.
will defend that one.
I've never
What
seen
you're
it.
thinking of is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was his last
Yes.
movie.
That's his last movie. That killed him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So-
was truly terrible. That's on the level of Welcome to Mooseport.
Yeah. I think Hackman should have started worrying about forgetting his lines one movie before.
You've defended Welcome to
I
Mooseport.
like the film because it's funny.
You haven't
but
seen
still.
it in probably 20 years.
It's funny. I thought it was funny. okay? But it for him, I guess that's not the way I would want that would not be what I'd want as my last film.
Okay. Moving to a different topic. For any Michael Bay movie, and I saw this as a critical review, the only way to enjoy this film is to completely turn off your brain. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, I was going to make a comment on that. He makes it super easy for you to turn off your brain from scene number 1. I don't know if you saw the headstone for his wife that says, his wife? He's talking
I didn't miss that one. Yeah.
I caught it half a second, like, wait, I had to like reverse back, and I'm like, it does say his wife.
Okay, thanks for helping us out there.
I was super confused why he was just talking to a random headstone, but now I know.
This movie is so cliche.
Man.
Okay. Dad, do you have a plot summary ready for us?
Oh, yes. In The Rock, a rogue U.S. general, Ed Harris, seizes Alcatraz Island and threatens San Francisco Bay with stolen chemical weapons, forcing an unlikely duo, a bookish FBI chemist, Nicolas Cage, and a vanished from the grid ex-spy, Sean Connery, into the island's fog-shrouded fortress. As they infiltrate the abandoned prison's tunnels and rusted battlements, the mission becomes a tense clash of wills and philosophies, where loyalty, guilt, and the weight of past secrets presses in as heavily as the Pacific mist. The Rock turns into a high-stakes pressure cooker, inviting you into a world where every corridor hums with danger and every choice feels like it could tip the balance.
Thank you, Dad. So what is this movie about?
I mean, we've already said it, unexplainable explosions.
It's a mere vehicle to have good actors in an action film with tons of special effects.
Do you remember how they used to pitch every action film from about 1989 forward through like the end of the 90s?
No.
No, enlighten me.
The elevator pitch in every Hollywood boardroom was, this is Die Hard on a bus. This is Die Hard on an elevator. This is Die Hard on a mountain. This is Die Hard in a prison island. That's all this is.
Throughout the entire film, I kept hearing, and I can never remember the guy's name that did all the voiceovers for the trailers, in a world. That's what I kept hearing.
There's no rhyme or reason to this entire movie other than we're going to put a bunch of big-named actors together, put a bunch of explosions in and gunplay, and see if people like it. And apparently they did. To the tune of, I don't even remember how much, but number 4 at the worldwide box office. For
300 million.
Whatever. Did you know there were tensions during shooting between director Michael Bay and Walt Disney Studios executives who were supervising the production? On the commentary track for the Criterion Collection DVD, yes, the Criterion Collection DVD, Bay recalls a time when he was preparing to leave the set for a meeting with the executives and was approached by Sir Sean Connery in golfing attire. Connery, who also produced this movie, asked Bay where he was going, and when Bay explained that he had a meeting with the executives, Connery asked if he could accompany him. Bay complied, and when Bay arrived in the conference room, the executives' jaws dropped when they saw Connery appear behind him. According to Bay, Connery then stood up for him and insisted that he was doing a good job and should be left alone.
Oh.
Mickey Mouse movies should be controlled by Disney.
Okay. Did you know the premiere of this movie was held in the prison recreation yard on Alcatraz?
Is this before or after they blew it up?
They didn't blow it up. Everything survived.
Except every window. Every window in sight was destroyed.
Oh, God. Did you know Sean Connery was rumored to have asked the production to build him a cabin on Alcatraz so that he wouldn't have to travel to the mainland every day? In reality, Connery allegedly did ask permission to anchor a yacht off the dock of Alcatraz, but was denied by the Coast Guard. No cabin was built, but he would spend time in his trailer whenever he didn't want to go back to the Hyatt Hotel in San Francisco, where he was staying for the duration of the shoot. Okay.
Is that something to do with method acting? It seems kind of an odd request.
What is method about it? He's just being lazy.
He needs to feel the essence of Alcatraz. He needs to.
Oh yeah.
In order to understand his character's escape from the complex sewer system of Alcatraz.
Did you know? While filming, Alcatraz was still open to the public, and many visitors watched the movie being shot. However, on December 15th, 1995, the federal government, which owns Alcatraz, partially shut it down due to stalled budget talks, and filming continued with no visitors present. I'm sure that was more exciting than actually watching the movie itself.
So, I guess my question is, were the hostages actual visitors then? That they just took and filmed them for half a tick?
I don't know. The hostages were the audience.
The hostages, the audience. Yeah.
Did you know? The studio wanted this movie shot in Los Angeles, with only a handful of exteriors on Alcatraz and San Francisco to complete the illusion. But director Michael Bay refused, telling them, quote, "I gotta shoot on this island because this island is so fucking bitchin'."
Yeah, dude, gnarly. Yeah.
It's a direct quote.
I know. Do we need to say anything more?
Yes, one thing.
Go ahead.
Did you know? Much of Nicolas Cage's dialogue was ad-libbed, including the Zeus's butthole line, which Michael Bay wanted to cut, but Cage insisted on having.
Was this argument? I just won the Oscars. I know what I'm doing.
Okay. We gotta take a break. We'll be right back. Before we jump back into the episode, next week for our 315th episode, we discuss History of the World, Part 1, from 1981, celebrating its 45th anniversary. Written and directed by Mel Brooks. Cinematography by Woody Omans. Music by John Morris. Editing by John C. Howard. Starring Mel Brooks, Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn, Harvey Korman, and Cloris Leachman. You won't want to miss that one, so watch ahead of the show by searching the Real Good app to find where it's streaming for you. That's REELGOOD. And before we get too much further, Jesse, what's going on with you? What are you working on, and where can people find you?
Work. That's all I'm doing, my actual job. You can find me on my Instagram, which I can never remember the name of. I think it's just Sertle. And like I always say, if you follow me, I'll actually post things on it. Because right now I don't really do anything with it. But if you actually follow me, I'll post stuff. Just to keep you entertained.
Okay, then. Well, you'll have some tags from, I think, some various clips from this episode that will go up on there.
I usually forward it to everybody that I know, just so they can see it.
Good deal, good deal. All right, we left off at Best Performance. Dad, who did you have down?
I have DreamQuest Images, led by visual effects supervisor Hoyt Yateman.
Okay, who were in charge of what exactly?
All the explosions. Seriously, that's what the best part of the film is.
I'm going to put Connery. Connery at least was passable. He's still somewhat of a badass, and he's funny in the movie. Okay.
He was my secondary.
Cool. I mean, I also had him as most charismatic because I just did not want to give out a ton of awards for this thing.
I'll agree with that, too.
I don't know who it is, whoever's over the props department for that that headstone that says his wife.
Oh, wow.
That was a perfect choice for this movie.
Okay, Jesse, your secondary performance.
I did like Ed Harris in this film. I know you did not like it. I did like his. I thought his performance, like I said, they didn't utilize him that very well in this movie, but like I did like his performance. As you could see, he's slowly getting back onto himself. He kind of loses himself at the beginning, but he's slowly going back to it. And they kind of plant seeds here and there. Like there's the one scene where he tells the school, "Hey, you need to get off the island right away," where you can kind of tell, like, you know, he's not this real, you know, I guess Bondish villain. He's a kind of a guy who's just kind of lost his way, and he kind of rewrites himself by the end, which I found entertaining.
I don't really have that much of a problem with Ed Harris. Like, he's clearly invested and trying to do what he can in his limited role. I just didn't think that the character made a lot of sense, and his plot seems a little convoluted, but okay. Just me. I mean, he wasn't bad in the movie. But if I'm going to go with a secondary person, and I'm going to recognize somebody that even as many times as I saw him on screen, I'm like, oh, that's Leo from The West Wing. So I went with John Spencer as FBI director, what's his name? Because, you know, at least somebody felt like they were giving a damn in the film. And he does have a significant plot devising, I guess.
Which one? That's the overall director?
Yes.
It's the guy who's constantly at war with Mason, Sean Connery.
Okay, so the guy gets
over
the guy
balcony.
Okay, yeah, he was a pretty good secondary bad guy throughout the whole movie. I enjoyed him.
Was he really a bad guy? That's the thing.
Yeah, he is, because he's trying. Because unless you don't think Sean Connery is a hero in the movie,
I mean, neither of them is all good nor all bad.
Mm-hmm. But he's definitely got it out for Mason throughout the whole movie.
Okay. But I don't think that makes him bad, per se. But whatever.
Adversary. There we go. He's an adversary.
But again, if you're just going to highlight people that showed up and at least, like, gave a damn, yeah. So, Dad, who was your best secondary?
I had Connery.
That's right. You had Connery. All right, so we're on to charismatic. I had Connery here as well. Again, if you're going to enjoy anything, if you like this movie, it's probably because of Connery.
For me, yeah, I would say Connery and then the President.
Who's in it all of 4 seconds?
Well, he is also the President in Armageddon, too, and he does the exact same lines in both movies, where he's talking about the end of the world.
Oh, God.
Who was it, by the way? Do we even know?
I don't know, but I recognized the voice right away, and that's the first thing I was looking at my phone, and I'm like, is the President the same?
Michael Bay's father.
It's like, yes.
Throw him a bone. He's got a speaking line, so therefore he gets residuals.
Stanley Anderson.
Okay.
Best known as the President we need.
He is most known for Runaway Jury, Primal Fear, The Kid, the Bruce Willis movie, 40 Days and 40 Nights, Armageddon, the remake of The Shining that was more, I guess, close to the book. He was in the original Spider-Man. He was in Legally Blonde 2, The Pelican Brief, Red Dragon. I mean, so he's had a bit part character arc for at least a good decade and a half.
And he makes a good president giving a launch order.
Yes. And talking about the morals of his launch order.
He looks like the serious white guy in his late 50s, early 60s that America needs.
Yes.
He's no Bill Pullman, but...
Oh. I'll circle back around to Bill Pullman.
All right. Fair enough. Let's move to best scenes then. Oh, boy. All right. I have 5 nominees here. I have The Chemical Room, which is at the beginning of the film, kind of. It's the introduction to Nicolas Cage's character. Then I have Chasing Mason, which is the car chase, for whatever reason. I have The Shower Room, which is when all of the Navy SEALs end up dead. I have Hummel's End, which is Ed Harris's last moments in the film. And then I have the Rocket Man moment, which, again, it's like a 5-year-old wrote the script.
Oh, I was thinking of a whole different thing when you were talking about The Chemical Room. I was thinking about when he was in the morgue. I guess I would consider it the morgue room then, when he's dismantling the bombs. I really like that scene because it's kind of a role reversal, because Nicolas Cage's character is kind of the sidekick, and then he becomes the main character. Yeah, I guess he becomes the hero then, because he has to disassemble the bombs. And just seeing that kind of role reversal where Sean Connery is out of his element.
Okay,
I found that
we can
I
add
found
that
that entertaining. And every meme ever created from this movie is from that room.
Fair enough. Are there any other scenes we'd like to nominate, or are we good with these?
That's good.
Okay. So out of these 6, Chemical Room, Chasing Mason, Shower Room, Morgue, Hummel's End, and Rocket Man, what is the best scene?
Maybe we should have added closing credits.
I'm going to make a vote for saying the Chasing Mason is the worst of them, because Bullet it is not. Because that is essentially, I feel like what he was trying to like, I'm going to make a better Bullet chase from the movie Bullet. I'm going to make a better chase scene in San Francisco. And it's not.
But I have that as my best scene, because it's the one that's got the most explosions and crashes.
See, personally, if there is any story to this movie, if there's any weight, if there's any catharsis, I have it being Hummel's End, because Ed Harris's demise in this movie feels like it's the only backbone to the entire story. There's 3 character-informing plot lines. There is Nicolas Cage and his girlfriend, who are now expecting his child. There is all of the weird background behind Mason as to why he's in prison, and that he has a daughter that he doesn't know. He knows of, but doesn't know her. And then there's Ed Harris's background with his wife.
I don't know, that scene. I mean, I love it that you have the partial view from Goodspeed and Mason watching it happen, unfold, but if I was there, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's a coup, but then, like, a coup and an anti-coup happen at the same time, where, like, you're, like, meant to believe, who's the character, the major, his name is escaping me.
David Morse.
David Morse, where you think, like, is he gonna, you kind of feel like he's on the side of the captains, and like, nope, he's with them all the way to the end. Just a shot. But if I was gonna vote, I would vote the shower scene, because that scene is just hilarious. It's led to be dramatic, but there's nothing dramatic at all about it. Just like them yelling at each other, I will not let them stand down! I will not give that order! They're just yelling at each other back and forth, and then the cliche, the cliche piece of, like, masonry that falls, that spooks, a highly trained soldier, and to just go, just firing off. That scene gets me every time.
Okay. So then, let's see here. We have favorite scenes. I'm going to go with Rocket Man, because it was satisfying to see a guy launched out of a tower by the nose of a rocket. Like, he didn't recognize that was right next to him and he could have been shot.
That's my favorite scene also, because it is so fucking absurd that I just had to pick it. I mean, it's just like, it was like Wile E. Coyote. Wow.
Okay. And then finally, most indelible moment. I'm going to pick, again, the end of Ed Harris's character in this one, which happens with like 20 minutes left in the movie. Hey, I don't know. Yeah, let's just keep moving.
Oh no, I had one to add to this. The one that's has stuck with me since I first watched this movie as a wee little child.
Yes.
The new one, obviously, is the gravestone, because that's going to stick in my head forever. But the original one, because this is a plot point that I could not figure out, is when they're in the boiler room and he has to roll through the fire, like the boiler fires, and then he opens the door to let them in. So my thought process through that was like, so he had to come out that way when he was escaping, so he would have just had to walk through that door because it was already open. So what's the point of the fire escape thing?
Yeah.
That stuck with me for 30 years.
Mine is chasing Mason again because, of course, the only part of the film that I remembered clearly was the scene where Cage lets him off. Your dad's working with the FBI. That's the only part I remembered, other than the overall plot. I mean, it was on Alcatraz and there was like weapons and I don't remember. That's the only part that I remembered. I remembered that scene, so that makes it the most indelible moment.
You don't remember the trolley that explodes into the air?
No.
And no one gets hurt, even though it was full of people moments before.
Well, the only guy left.
He was still in it. Like a scene before, he was still in it, directing it, trying to get it to go.
Yeah, and
I understand.
And of course, because, instead of being in shock or like concerned about people being hurt all around you, my trolley! Ooh, my trolley! You blew up my trolley! Oh my God.
This is the dumbest fucking movie.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's take another break. We'll be right back. Before we jump back into the episode, and before we get to the Stanley Rubric in a minute, if you're ever curious about our master greatest movies of all time list that has every graded movie we've ever discussed on the show, there's a link in the episode description of every episode of this show, or you can go to RonnieDuncanStudios.com and find us the top entry on the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast show page. That is the grades we've done so far for all 283 movies we've graded, and we continue to add more each week. Make sure to check that out as we go and follow along. Dad, do we have anyone to remember this week?
We weren't doing that.
That's correct. We are skipping past it because we are pre-recording, but we're going to have a very long list when we get back from vacation a couple of weeks from now. So that being said, let's jump right back into the madness with best, funniest lines and see what crap we can come up with. I'll start with John Mason. Are you sure you're ready for this? I'll do my best. Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Stanley Goodspeed. Carla was the prom queen. Really? Yeah. Cocks his gun. Why is that in this?
To Mason. Look, I'm just a biochemist. Most of the time, I work in a little glass jar and lead a very uneventful life. I drive a Volvo, a beige one. And what I'm dealing with here is one of the most deadly substances the earth has ever known. So, what you say, you cut me some frickin' slack?
Okay, I got one of the Stanley Goodspeed. I gotta pull it over. Mason is talking about the history of Alcatraz. It's about the souvenir shop. Oh, really? I like history too, and maybe when this is over, maybe you and I can stop by the souvenir shop. But right now, I just want to find some rockets.
Stanley Goodspeed, while in the prison morgue. You've been around a lot of corpses. Is that normal? What, the feet thing? Yeah, the feet thing. Yeah, it happens. Well, I'm having a hard time concentrating. Can you do something about it? Like what? Kill him again?
Good speed. You're enjoying this? Mason. Well, it's certainly more enjoyable than my average day. Reading philosophy, avoiding gang rapes in the washrooms. Though it's less of a problem these days. Maybe I'm losing my sex appeal.
Paul, the hotel barber, to Mason in the elevator. Okay, I don't want to know nothing. I never saw you throw that gentleman off the balcony. All I care about is, are you happy with your haircut?
Good speed. Well, I'm one of the unfortunate people who like my job, sir. Got my first chemistry set when I was 7. Blew my eyebrows off. We never saw the cat again. Been into it ever since.
I'm tapped out. You guys already said the ones I want to say.
Stanley Goodspeed. But how, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell? I only ask because in our current situation, well, it could prove to be useful information. Maybe.
I'm out.
I got one last one because everybody talks about it when talking about this movie. John Mason. Welcome to the Rock. All right. Moving on.
It's about my favorite scene, by the way.
The Stanley rubric is next. We have legacy up first. This is a measurement of the legacy of the film approximately 5 years after it came out to today. So roughly 2001 to today. What is the legacy of this film as shared between two equal yet separate groups? The industry for 5 points and the audience for 5 points for a total of 10. Dad, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second.
On an industry level, I don't think that this is thought of that highly. Yes, it made money. Of course, it got Michael Bay to do a ton of other things like Armageddon or Transformers or Pearl Harbor that all became bigger movies for some unknown reason. But outside of that, it was a run of Nicolas Cage movies that everybody felt were B-level action films. It felt like he was trying to become the next Sylvester Stallone unsuccessfully. Sean Connery is noted for this film. Yes, there are people that enjoy it, but I just don't find it's not on critics' lists. It's not on, like... I might be willing to give it up a half a point because of the stupid Criterion Collection DVD, but I have this as a 2 for the industry. For the public, this is where it is a film, The Rock that being, that I think gets some level of support is outside the industry where they know it's a piece of shit. But the home viewers who watch it as a cable movie where you can pick it up, where you don't have to watch the first 45 minutes, which is crap, and you can watch select scenes in the middle, this is a decent example of a 90s movie like that. This is a preeminent cable movie. And so as a result, I would say that's a 3.5, and I have a 5.5 here for legacy.
I mean, I'm in agreement with you on the industry, on that portion, where this is probably a forgotten movie.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah, for the industry. I think there are more impact. I see the impact portion. I think there are more movies that have a larger legacy in that same year as this movie that outshine this movie. But my experience after first seeing it on the 20-inch TV is it's a TNT classic movie where it's on all the time on one of those channels growing up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where you could flip it by and see it in there, and it's probably still on there every once in a while. And that's probably with the people, that's probably the staying power, is it's something where you can turn the brain off literally and just have it going in the background. You don't need any information because it's not going to give you any information unless it's telling you who's on the gravestone, which is obviously his wife. It doesn't, like I say, it doesn't give you information. So for the people, I wouldn't say 3.5 for you. I'd say probably 1 for legacy for the industry, and I'm more on 3 for the people for legacy. So I'm sitting at 4.
I mean, shutting off your brain, you don't need to have that on TNT. You already have CBS for that. Anyway, the industry. I'm at 1.5, and I went up to that because of the Criterion Collection.
To that?
Yes, I went up to that
Hold
because
on. You were at a 1.5 and you went up to that. What is that?
To 1.5. I was originally going to give it like a 1 or like a 1, and then I thought, oh well, the Criterion Collection added it, so I'll give it a half point for that. So 1.5. For the public, actually, we had hands that came up in the office poll.
We did not. We did not give an office survey of this movie.
I thought we did.
No, we did the other 3 movies that we just did for last week.
Okay.
But since we're recording this all in the same week, you didn't put that one out there for the office poll.
Well, I'm going to still think that this film is known by people under 40. They may not like it that much.
Under 40?
So I would be in agreement that people know about this because I brought this up to people that I know. They're all in their 20s and they all are aware of this movie because it became a topic because we watch movies about almost every week or now. It became a topic of possibly watching this movie, which I refuted and said no.
But I can't give it too much up on the public because anybody who's a cinephile is not going to be watching this film unless they've already watched it once.
Okay, who is the most cinephile that you know of? Like, that you would name, of our community? Who is, like, the most ridiculous person? They've seen a ton of stuff.
The one who should not be named?
Sure, we can go with Andrew, okay? Andrew told me he likes this movie and that I was slandering it.
Oh, God. All right, then I'll go with the 2.5.
So you're at a 4 as well?
Yes.
He should not be named.
4.5 is the average between the 3 of us. Let's move to impact and significance. This is a measure of exactly the same thing that we did for the last category. The impact and significance, except it's in the initial 5 years of its release, 1996 to 2001. What is the impact and significance among the same 2 groups, the industry and the audience? 5 and 5 points apiece for a total of 10. Since I led off the last category, Dad, go ahead.
Well, the industry, I think at the time, thought Bay was probably doing all right and made money within that first 5 years, which led him to a bunch of other projects. That being said, I can go with a 3.5 for the industry. But unfortunately, because it drew so well and made so much money, I got to go with a 5 because it was like $300 million. What was it? Do we have it for the ranking for the year? Let me ask.
Yes, number 4.
All right, then I'll go with 4.5.
That's exactly what I had. On a public level, it was not the number 1, it was not the number 2 even, where like the number 1 movie was so ridiculous. Something in 1997, for example, where it was number 2 behind Titanic, which is one of the like top 10 biggest films of all time, might get consideration around a 5, but this is by far the definition of a 4.5. It did well. It did well enough with the audience and the public that it can establish that much. But outside of that, no. As far as the industry, though, Nicolas Cage got a lot more movies around this time. Now, part of that you could argue was his Oscar. Ed Harris got in a lot of movies around this time. Was it because of this movie? No. But it was also not because of this movie. While Sean Connery making back money and whatever else is not there, the fact that we all talked about in our opening, Michael Bay, within 5 years, is directing both Armageddon, which was a huge film, and Pearl Harbor, which was a huge film. I don't know. I got that at a 4. So I'm at a 8.5. So we have an 8 and an 8.5.
Okay. So I define this movie as a big, dumb action movie. So when I was thinking about impact and significance, I look at a movie that came out a month later that is a big, dumb action movie that has more impact at that time, and more significance at that time, and more legacy, if we're going to go back at that time. That was Independence Day.
Okay.
It came out a month later, and I'm like, this movie is nothing compared to that movie. I think that movie doubled it in its gross.
Sure.
So, sure, it might have gotten Michael Bay another movie. It might have. I'm going to think he's mostly cashing in on Bad Boys was a surprise hit.
That's probably fair.
Because I think this is probably his one that didn't. I mean, it did cash. It didn't bounce on him on this one. But like I said, I'd say more the movie that projected him and kept him going forever was Armageddon. I think Armageddon was like a year or two later, maybe the next year.
I think it's 1998.
I mean, that was huge.
Yeah.
From what I remember, like, this is like, yes, it did moderately well, but it's a summer dumb blockbuster action movie. But when I think of what is significant for that year is like you have the seminal movie that kind of, I mean, you had a couple movies before it, but you have the seminal movie that kind of defines what is a dumb blockbuster action movie, and it's Independence Day that came out a month later. On that one, for the industry, I'm gonna say almost a 1, and then for the audience score, I'm gonna say another 1. So I'm at a 2. I'm like,
okay, it's a 6.17 average between the three of us. You're always throwing curveballs. Novelty. This is a measurement of anything original about the film, as well as the execution on anything in the film. 5 and 5 points apiece for a total of 10. There is nothing original about this movie. I led off by saying this is Die Hard on an island. The explosions and the schlockiness and the B-level dumb action movie bullshit is all stuff that was Stallone from a couple of years prior, and that Nicolas Cage would just continue to do over and over for the next, 5 years. So there is literally nothing original about this movie. I have it at a 1. I probably shouldn't have even given it that high, but I'm going to be nice. And execution. The explosions mostly worked. The cinematography was okay. The action stuff is... It was at least a little bit funny, which I'll grant it. But I had this at a 2.5, again, to be nice, until we mentioned the whole gravestone thing. That's got to knock it down a half a point. So, it's a 3.
I love that you mentioned the gravestone. I was almost going to say that's something novel, but I feel like I've seen a movie where they've made that joke before that. I feel like there's a movie, it's just escaping my mind on that. But the only thing I can say, this is an Oscar-nominated movie, by the way, for sound. I just can't get it. There's nothing novel about this movie.
So what's your number?
I would say a 1. There's nothing. This movie is just, it's everything. It's schlock. It's all it is.
So you're a half point on both originality and execution?
Even the execution's bad.
So again, I repeat.
The explosion, yes, the explosions, they're so bad, because an explosion, you expect someone to get hurt. Right? I mean, Nicolas Cage is blown off the island into the ocean. And not a scratch on him. I get it, these were experimental thermite. I'm going, but yes, I'll digress.
We have a 3 and a 1.
The originality, I mean, at least it's on an island. I mean, it is kind of interesting that they put it on Alcatraz. I don't know. So I was gonna go with a 1.5, but I think you convinced me it's a 1. And the execution, I mean, the sound was good, and the music wasn't horrible.
No, it was okay.
So, and I thought the pyrotechnics and all the rest of that was pretty good. So I'm at a 2 for that. So I'm at a 3 overall.
Okay, so that is a 2.33 average between the three of us. I think that might be one of our lowest novelty scores ever. But now we arrive at classicness.
Ah, yes.
This is a measure of things that have aged well or aged poorly about the film overall. This is a category with endless amounts of nuance and difficulty. We start at a baseline of a 6 because it's usually easier to take points off than it is to add points on. However, in recent times, we have found no shortage of difficulty in trying to add points on and very few in taking points off. This would be a lone exception. And so we turn this over to our senior nuance correspondent, Dana.
Well, we generally, as you indicated, start with a 6. And I'm going to immediately take off 2 points because we have an entirely, the militants, the soldiers, upper management or leadership is lily white. And who are the 3 guys who try to overthrow them and cause the thing to go forward? 3 black guys.
Yeah, the insubordinate types.
Yes, the problems in the military. Okay, so there's 2 points off. Now I'm at a 4. Okay, not to mention the fact that, of course, the one homosexual in the film is a stereotype hairdresser with a lisp. So I should give a full point off, but considering the time frame and how incredibly homophobic everybody was at that time frame, I'm going to only give it a half point off. But then I'm going to talk about just the sheer stupidity of stuff. Of course, the balls with the gas have to be neon green. I mean, because heaven knows all poisonous gas is neon green. Of course, then we have just the incredible stupidity of things. A guy who gets shot with a rocket and such. Because, we have to make our films into something that, again, is Wile E. Coyote. Super genius. Anyway, so I'm giving it a point off for that. So that's now, I'm down to, let's see, I was at 2, or I forgot where I was here. 4. Yeah. All right. I'm down to 3 I'm down to 3. All right. Now, this film does not age well because it's schlocky. I mean, it makes Fast and Furious films seem like highbrow. At least they have a plot. It's not much of a plot, but at least there's a plot. This thing doesn't seem to have any idea of what it wants to do other than blow things up. And so I'm going to give it a point down for that. I'm at a 2.5 for classicness.
Okay, I find all of that to be relatively reasonable. A few points that you might have missed. The chemical weapon stuff is so late 90s, early 2000s Iraq War era. Who in their right mind has really thought about chemical weapons as a big deal for 20 years? It's been bioweapons, it's been viruses, or it's been nukes. Those have been the 3 things. So this is a weird bygone era type of thing.
I think they would have been better off firing copies of this film into Iran right now.
Also, talking about guys who served in the Gulf War and Vietnam vets and all of it, it's such of a time and place that just doesn't really exist. Like, we're so far removed from this 30 years later that it feels so relic-y and schlocky as a result of it. Not that I'm, trying to diminish anyone's service by any means, but it just roots it in a very specific time and place that is not now. And so if you're looking at classicness, it feels like it's grounded in an era that's way bygone. Now, a couple of points in its favor. Domestic terrorism, Maybe not of this variety, but I think that's at least something that is aged well. Denial of VA benefits. That's something that has always aged well. But ultimately, I landed at a 2 on this thing because no matter how many things I could take the math up and down with, take points off, add points on, whatever for this equation, at the end of the day, this is just violence porn. And I don't feel like celebrating violence porn. Like, if you're going to put violence in a movie, have it be for some purpose or with some greater consequences in mind than literally blowing up a trolley and nobody's hurt. So, combined with his wife, the lack of it's a 2. It's a 2.
I don't know what to add. I mean, I was almost going to add what you add at the end about how no one gets hurt throughout the whole movie. It just...
Well, except the guys in the shower room all die.
They all die, and then no one
And the
hears.
one guy gets fired out by a rocket.
I mean, Nicolas Cage is thrown through so many windows in the last 10 minutes. You'd think you'd have some sort of nick or scratch. Nothing. Nothing makes sense in that. I'm at a view with at least a 2.5. That's taking points away because, like, you made very good points on that. I'm in agreement with that. It's like this doesn't age well. I mean, there are movies now that people don't get hurt and it doesn't make sense on that, but I just can't imagine it to be in this level.
So what was your number?
I had 2.5. I'd take points away.
So that's a 2.33 average between the three of us. Rewatchability. Insert your own subjective test here if you wish. We usually start with our guest on this category.
I can start.
It's 1 out of 10, so have at her, Hoss.
So I've talked about mine. Mine is usually 1 out of 5, so I'll have to times everything by 2. With 5 being, I watch this movie religiously all the time. 4 being, if it's on, I'm going to watch it. I enjoy these movies. I think they're good. 3 is, I've watched it before. If I have no other choice, I'll watch it again. And then 2, 1, 0 are essentially, I've watched it, I don't like it, I'll never watch it. I don't even like it, I won't watch it. This was sitting probably at a 3, 3.5, 3.25, so it'd be 6.5. Because I'm like, yeah, it was on, I'd possibly watch it. But after seeing that gravestone that says his wife, I love stupid stuff like that. So it launched the rewatchability for me through the stratosphere. This is a 10 out of 10. Because that is so stupid.
You're going to save it from possible hell by giving it a 10 here.
That was so stupid that I'm like, I have to force people to watch this movie for that specific scene.
Okay. If this were me personally, I would give it a 0.5. But I've tried to be more objective in trying to take on the particulars of that. And so I understand that this movie is not for me. It is not made for me. But you can't tell me that there is an overwhelming amount of people in the general population that feels like they need to rewatch this movie regularly. I think it is a cable movie where people watch it in small bits between commercial breaks. I don't think anybody sits down and actually watches it straight through on a regular basis. So because of that, I'm going to try and forego somewhat of my own opinion, but I'm going to heavily factor my own opinion. I will say a 2 here. This is barely rewatchable, but it is at least in that for some people.
Well, taking into account whether people will have to regularly rewatch it, yeah, there's certain things in life that you have to redo, even if you don't necessarily want to. Like take a shit. But it's similar. It kind of, watching it does have a certain element of feeling like you're voiding yourself. So, so to that extent, I will give it a few points.
Before you give your number, if you don't like taking a shit, why do you spend 40 minutes at a pop in there?
Because it used to be that it was the only time I could be alone and not have anybody bothering me. Except now you and your mother both knocking on the door and talking to me through the door.
45 minutes in there and we have things to do.
Minutes. I take a little bit of time, but I go through my email and whatever. So just give me a break, okay? But that's why. Regardless, here's the point. So that I'm going to give it a couple of points there, okay? And I would watch this again, but if I did, it would have to be with somebody who could let me do this, like, Mystery Science Theater 3000, where I could constantly make derogatory comments about the film while watching it, because I'd have fun doing that. So I'm going to give it a 5.
So that is a 5.67 average between the three of us. Then we move to audience score. On this one, we had an 84% for Google users and an 85% for Rotten Tomato users, giving us an 8.45. So to repeat the categories, we had a 4.5 for Legacy, a 6.17 for Impact and Significance, a 2.33 for Novelty, a 2.33 for Classicness, a 5.67 for Rewatchability, and an 8.45 for Audience Score, giving us a final total of 29.45, and only the 5th film ever to break under the 30 mark in the history of the show. This is coming in at 279 between Wedding Crashers and Victory. Only by the grace of both of you on Rewatchability did it finish above Victory,
Yeah.
Shampoo, The Greatest Show on Earth, and The Room.
I have to admit, it's better than all of those.
Yeah.
So, I feel okay with that.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone has any commentary for us, good, bad, or otherwise, I will try to be nice, but you're probably not going to change my opinion on Michael Bay. Just saying. But you can still write us at greatestaltimemoviepodcast@gmail.com, on any of our socials at GModePodcast, or on our website, RonnieDuncanStudios.com/GModePodcast. Do we even need to go to the remaining questions?
I think we've already addressed most of those. You did have the most ridiculous plan ever. Pretty close, but I think the film you made me watch with Dennis Rodman and
Simon Says.
Yeah, that had a worse or more ridiculous plan.
Okay, well, yes, this terrorist plot was ridiculous and ill-conceived when they could have just done a lawsuit or lobbied Congress or whatever else. Since this guy is apparently an important general, you would have thought that they would have listened. Instead, we have to hold the city of San Francisco hostage and end up dead. Doesn't really make sense to me. Also, adding to the ridiculousness of this movie, when somebody's literally in your crosshairs, why do you start yelling? Just shoot. This feels like all those Austin Powers moments about Bond films. Just shoot the guy. Don't yell. Don't do other things. Just shoot.
The only thing I'll add is because I did a little bit of deep dive on this, and I guess there's a fan theory that Mason is actually James Bond.
Okay. Cool.
Would anyone be in agreement?
I mean,
he's actually James Bond.
Does it change the outcome of this movie? No, but it makes the Connery Bond that much more dense. I don't know. Also, again, these are the stupid nitpicky moments, but that one guy who chases him up into the tower or the lighthouse or whatever to go after the rocket, there is no, like, chain on that metal door. There's no lock. There's literally nothing there, and it's locked from the inside. So how does he get through a cast iron door with just an axe?
You missed the deleted scene. You go into the Criterion collection, you'll see the deleted scene where it explains how he gets through the door.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's there.
He hit it with his axe and it exploded. That's what happened.
So I'd like to thank our guest for being back with us for his 6th time. He's not currently scheduled to be back with us this season, but just remind everybody again what you're working on and where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I think you posted my name as Sertle on Instagram. Find me there. Like I said, things I'd probably be working on is probably more films. Currently, right now, I'm with my friends. I'm going through the entire Buffy the Vampire Slayer seasons. Right now I'm in season 5, so I'm enjoying that. And then, as another side note, we were watching essentially almost all the Christian Slater movies, not in order, but essentially we're watching them all right now. The last one we watched on Friday night was Heathers. So they've been very entertaining. So when you were talking about the Mystery Science Theater, that's exactly what's happening in all these films. We were commenting the whole time because all of his films are kind of as ridiculous as this film. So it's exciting. That's what I've been doing.
Excellent. Final thoughts for the week, Pop?
No. Just trying to get through, doing some preliminary work on my show starting on June 8th, and that's about it.
All right. And I do want to just briefly mention that even though there's been a gap between the end of season 1 of First Watch, Rewatch, we should have an episode up by the time that this is coming out again for season 2. So instead of continuing to season 2 of The West Wing, we're starting season 1 of The Good Wife. If that gives you any idea of my reaction to it. It was a CBS product for a reason. But that being said, I'm looking forward to the next month of new releases. We have Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg returning to science fiction and stuff of that nature. I can't say that I'm like super jazzed, but I could get into a Toy Story 5 frame of mind. And then we do have another comic book fair, which probably will be hit or miss. I don't think that there's a huge appetite in the public for a Supergirl movie, but I'm just hoping it's good for those of us that actually care about that kind of thing. So
I'm looking forward to Pressure because, quite frankly, it's a historical film, which is my ballywick. But Andrew Scott could pretty much do a dramatic reading of the phone book, and I'd find it entertaining.
Harold Lee. James Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore out there, Sally Thresh. I don't know. I'm just making up names.
Yeah. They're not alphabetical either.
No, they're not. I was trying to, make it somewhat interesting.
Like this. Anyway.
Regardless, that looks like a good spot to stop for the week. Thank you for listening. I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Next week, for our 315th episode, we discuss History of the World Part 1, from 1981, celebrating its 45th anniversary. Written and directed by Mel Brooks, cinematography by Woody Omens, music by John Morris, editing by John C. Howard, starring Mel Brooks, Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn, Harvey Korman, and Forrest Leachman. You won't want to miss that one, so watch into the show by searching the Really Good app to find where it's streaming for you. That's REELGOOD. Please like, follow, rate, and review, or whatever on whichever platform you have so that more can join in on our fun. You can also email the show at RunAndGetTheStudios.com or at GreatestAllTimeMoviePodcast@gmail.com, or find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Threads, TikTok, and I think I'm forgetting one, but at the handle @GmailPodcast. The Greatest Movie of All Time is a production of Run and Get The Studios. Our show is mixed, edited, and written by Thomas Duncan. Our music is thanks to Purple Planet Music. Our distributor is Captivate FM. Our technical provider is Riverside FM.